Sat in this room yesterday and I made a video I didn't upload. Yep, that happens. Happens a lot. Because if I do a video and if I say I'm not happy with that, or I don't think so, I'm not going to talk about that right now, then I don't. I generally don't. And in this case, it was an incident that took place at an ROH show. So guys at an ROH show, lipping off the bad guys as they come out. The bad guys in this case, Velvet Sky and Mandy Leon are the ones that get mentioned the most. Mandy Leon, who has joined the Allure, she's turned heel, which for people who don't know, that means she's a bad guy. On their way out, this guy, of course, is lipping off the bad guys. Mandy Leon reportedly spit on him. Now, whether this is hawking up a major, loogie to nail him in the head with, or where it was just one of those kind of things that you're not really spitting, I don't know. It doesn't really matter. Apparently, she did that, and then she did the face palm thing, where you hit somebody, I guess, right in the forehead with the palm of your hand, which means you was at ringside, and you will very often have your voracious wrestling fans in the front row. And then he got into it with Velvet Sky. Now, Velvet Sky's boyfriend is Bully Ray, who a lot of WWE fans would know as Bubba Ray Dudley of the Dudley Boys. And personally, if I was at a wrestling show, I wouldn't. You see, this is where as a wrestling fan, I think back to people saying I'm not a very good hockey fan because I don't freak out and jump around like an idiot. Every now and then it'll happen, but it's very rare. As a wrestling fan, I just kind of sit and enjoy the show. Now, when I was a teenager, sure, I would yell at wrestlers, and I was, right up in that and loved that, me and my friends. And I remember getting singled out by Honky Tonk Man, who was Honky Tonk Wayne at the time. It was a Stampede Wrestling show. And I yelled something at him, and I remember him pointing at me and going, "You shut your filthy mouth." That was a great moment for me. That was one of those moments that I felt great. And it was before he went to WWE. It was before anybody knew who he was worldwide. And it was this really good moment that he was pointing at us. And of course, when he said, "Shut your filthy mouths," we just got worse. Well, my friend's dad just sat there and laughed his head off. He thought it was so funny. And his dad was normally, I thought, kind of religious. And I thought it was odd that we were cursing and swearing the way we were. And he was just laughing it off. But we were... that had to have been when I was like 13, 14. So, really young. Now, this guy at ringside, he's an adult. And he says he's been to a lot of wrestling shows. Now, here's where the problem comes in for me from the point of view of a wrestling fan yelling and screaming and all of this. I know it's a show. I know they're characters. So if I was at ringside and Kevin Owens comes out and he's insulting the crowd, I'm going to laugh at it. I'm going to laugh at it, give him a thumbs up, like, yeah, you did that really well. Elias, same thing. Chris Jericho, same thing. It doesn't matter if it's a guy that I like and he comes out and he's insulting the crowd, he's insulting the city I live in, he's insulting whatever, I'm going to laugh at it and go, yeah, that's funny. Whereas the fans at ringside who you often see losing their minds will be the ones that, are fanatical, and they'll be cursing and swearing and saying things. Now, what happened in this was he yells at them. Velvet Sky said something to him about being a 40-year-old virgin, blah, blah, blah. And he answered with her having sex with, big fat tub of lard, whatever he called Bully Ray. I wouldn't do that. I wouldn't do that. And I wouldn't do that for a simple reason. Let's say I met Lana from WWE. I was like, "Man, you're so gorgeous. You're with that slob, Rusev?" Rusev would walk around the corner. "Oh, hi, Mr. Rusev. Hello. You're gonna fold me how many ways? That sounds like fun." Like, there's certain guys that I legit say I wouldn't want to cross them, and Bully Ray's one of them. Now, people have been pointing out that as Bubba Ray Dudley in ECW, he used to have promos where he said things to intentionally incense the fans against him. In this case, he clearly took offense, or somebody took offense, and it looks like it was Velvet Sky, probably Mandy Leon as well, took offense to what was being said by the fan at ringside. Now, there are lewd sexual motions that he was apparently making, and comments he was making about her sex life and Bully Ray and all this, they felt to cross the line. So security comes and takes him out of the arena to backstage, where Bully Ray sat him down. And then we've had the kid's side of it, which was he felt intimidated, and he felt like he was, being basically told to shut it, and that the women should be treated with more respect. I know people are going to get mad about this. As I said, as a wrestling fan, you sit me at ringside. I'm not going to be yelling and screaming at wrestlers. I'm not going to have people spitting on me. I know that. But at the same time, I'm not forgiving Mandy Leon for apparently spitting on him, because you can't do that. There's a line you can't cross. And it feels like, and this happens with social media too, where that line gets crossed. So he posted about this incident on Twitter. I did a video on it yesterday, and I thought, no, I'm not going to talk about it because, it's ROH. It's not something that people pay a whole lot of attention to. And I want to hear Bully Ray / Bubba Ray's side of it first. So he posted this on Twitter just this morning. And now the truth. I could not have been nicer to said fan. Fans in quotation marks. Yes, nice. All capital letters. Hard to believe. I never threatened, intimidated, or berated said fan. I handled the situation the exact opposite way most would assume, with decorum. Convo lasted less than 30 seconds. I even gave the fan a friendly pat on the back and told him to enjoy the show and go be a fan. His response, thanks, Bully. Now, I'll stop here and say this. He could have come out, referred to me as if I were a woman, said, have fun, sweetie, and I would have said, thanks, Bully. He's a big guy. He's a big dude, and there are wrestlers who look like, they don't look legit tough. Most of the guys on 205 Live, there's that comment thrown at them. Kevin Owens is a guy in WWE that to me looks legit tough. Like, he could legit tool somebody if he had to. And Bully Ray has that as well. Fan version of this story is embellished to make fan look like a victim. Many other fans who attended shows in Kent and Portland have already confirmed to social media how the fan crossed the line with multiple talents, both men and women. In retrospect, the fan should have been ejected. That happens now. And for people who are saying, well, back in the 90s, that line has moved. And especially in the case of, I don't know that ROH was 18 plus. I looked at tickets for ROH. I didn't see that it was 18 plus. I think you can get away with stuff at a show that is meant just for adults rather than one that accepts kids as well. Unfortunately, it wasn't until after the fan was asked to not be so rude did we find out the severity of the vile comments and lewd sexual gestures made towards the women. So he called them backstage before he even knew exactly what he had said and done, which leads me to believe it may not have been Velvet Sky that told him initially. It may have been somebody in security or somebody else that said, wow, this guy is he's a piece of work. Bully Ray calls him backstage, and then afterwards he goes to Velvet and goes, so what was going on? Or Velvet came back and said, man, this one fan was giving me trouble, and then he went to somebody else who told him what was actually said. Maybe Velvet didn't complain a whole lot. I think we can all agree that in 2019, this type of behavior towards women is unacceptable and goes far beyond the scope of, and he puts in quotes, I paid for my seat, I should be able to say whatever I want. And yeah, there does kind of have to be a limit on that. I live by the motto, respectful fans always get what they want, rude fans get what they deserve. At the end of the day, I'm guilty of defending 3 women that needed a bit of defending, not by being a bully, by being a man. To which the top response is, a fan insulting heels, it's a sad day when this is no longer allowed. I'll wait for an official statement for ROH regarding the situation. Why is ROH, this is another comment, why is ROH security bringing people who should have been ejected backstage to learn a lesson from talent in the show? What kind of practice is that? I think this is the crux of the issue. This is another comment. I like Bully, but if someone is harassing the talent, you have security remove them, or you go to the ring and cut a promo on the guy. You don't have them brought to the back where they feel vulnerable to talk. Somebody posts, and again, It was wrong in 1999, and you did it constantly. And they mentioned an ECW pay-per-view, and I'm not going to repeat what he said, but it was pretty horrible. And then somebody says people talk about how great that promo was in mention of the 1999 one. But it was really just overly offensive comments to marginalized people. And it was. And I remember with ACW, I had an issue with just how personal the attacks would get. I think if I go out, if I had ever gone into professional wrestling, and gosh darn it, if I'd been bigger, I might have thought about it. I think with wrestling as a heel, you should be able to come out as a bad guy and get the crowd to boo you. You shouldn't need to insult a mother and a daughter at ringside. You shouldn't need to get into really overly offensive attacks. You shouldn't need to stoop to really awful things. You should be able to get a crowd to boo you by your attitude and by your general nature. This is why my favorite heel, like bad guy wrestlers in general, have been the guys that they don't really say anything overly offensive. They just go out there and they're just generally not likable in what they're doing. I think back to Ric Flair in the 80s. Ric Flair in the 80s never came out and I don't remember him running cities down. He would talk about how he was the man, and to be the man, you got to beat the man. And he'd go out with the Horsemen. And if you started beating up Ric Flair, all the Horsemen would hit the ring and beat the crap out of you. And it would happen week after week. And it was just, as fans, we hated that. We were like, somebody's got to deal with these Horsemen. And it worked. And at no point did Arn or Tully or I'm trying to think with like Lex or Barry Windham. I can't think of any of them coming out and getting into this really offensive tit for tat with fans at ringside. They didn't have to. I know you'd see them yell at a fan at ringside. It was usually just shut up, and then the crowd would go nuts. But again, in this day and age, with all the social media being as it is, I think things get kind of blown up. And looking at that, yeah, no, he posted that yesterday. I guess he posted it after I was looking for it, because I was watching his Twitter. I thought he has to answer this. Yeah, it was 21 hours ago, so that was about 4 o'clock yesterday. So that was when I was already getting ready for I was getting ready for a video I did on the Hockey Channel today on Harold Ballard. I was already writing all the information on the board for that, and I was getting ready to watch the hockey game last night. So it's strange because I don't know. There are fans who were there. Many other fans confirmed he was being normal in the Reddit thread. I trust your response because you were there and agree the fans should have been ejected. I don't think it's appropriate for you to take action, and that should have been done by security to have him removed. Many other fans' idea of normal as doing what this guy was doing. A lot of folks are starting to take wrestling way too seriously and treat wrestlers as if their character was a real-life persona. I saw the dude saying Taya should be killed. Yeah, there's actual... Yeah. And then people are like, so you're saying they're behaving the way that the fans used to in the 70s and 80s before there was kayfabe. And kayfabe is your wrestling character and carrying that over. So once you leave the carnival, you're still that carnival character. And wrestlers really don't do that anymore. And it's a whole different age. So let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. It's a fascinating discussion because I know WWE goes too far in confiscating signs and in not letting people have their how do I put this, their organic reaction actually portrayed on TV. Sometimes they mute crowd reactions or they change them in post. And of course, in the WWE's case, Vince McMahon backstage, if the fans don't react the way he wants them to, he gets mad at the fans for it, which is really weird. And I don't know, maybe you start throwing fans out for not reacting the way you want them to. In this case, because it's Velvet Sky and that's Bully Ray's boyfriend, or Bully Ray's girlfriend. Sorry, I'm losing track of which one I'm talking about here. Because it's Bully Ray's girlfriend, I think this blows up a little bit more than it would have otherwise. And And with all due respect to Bully Ray, I don't know how he pulled that off. I still, I mean, I've seen videos of them together. I've seen, you know, pictures of them together and little clips they've posted online. They seem like a perfectly happy couple together. I don't know how you do that. You know, she was the only reason I watched Impact at one point. It was just, all right, Velvet's been on. Well, I'm done with that. I'm going to go watch something else. And I'd watch whatever else was on TV. So, and then I think the reason that she didn't end up in WWE, I think she didn't end up back in WWE. I get the feeling that part of it may have been the connection of her and her boyfriend, and maybe they said, we don't necessarily want that dynamic backstage. Or they may have looked and said, we can't make this girl work with a PG rating. Her entire character and the way that she was portrayed was always just a little bit beyond PG when she was in Impact. So, there you go. Let me know your thoughts on this issue. As wrestling fans, what's the limit on what you can say? Is the limit limitless? Can you make any attacks on any wrestler you want? Because you're there and you paid for your ticket, and that's the way it's always been. Or in this day and age, do those rules change? Be interested to know your thoughts. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe. If you're browsing your way through, you just happened upon this video. Thank you guys so much for watching. I'll talk to you again soon.